MVP.
Hits one in the air, left center field, back it goes. Harper, the swing of his life.
You never get ahead of yourself. As Harris down the field,
I know Rennies do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that wrench do, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 60, part of the Olde City Sports Network. We got the three-man weave working for you tonight. Al Ryan, Chris Guest, Adam Seltzer in the building. And gentlemen, we are live.
We're live.
You are looking live.
These movements are happening in real time for you. So make sure I hope you guys have used the bathroom. I hope you got your beverage of choice. Because we are locked and loaded for the next couple hours.
Yeah. Whole cooler now. It's just right by my feet. I can't get up. I can't go up the stairs and get some more. I can't reload. So it's right here.
I got the bag on. I got my Flyers hat on for Jesse.
There you go. I hope he's watching and listening. Listen, if you're new to the program, every week we dedicate the episode to whatever number episode we're on. So listen, number 60, there's only one guy, historic Eagle. It's a Chuck Bednarik episode.
Yeah, it's
old school.
There's not many number 60s out there. We're in the dregs of what we're picking from. But listen, Chuck's as real as it gets.
Yeah, I talked about this earlier. That's hog heaven now for the next 20 episodes.
Yeah.
It's always tough to pick a good hog, though.
Lots of beef.
Lots of beef. Work. So, gentlemen, we got a lot going on in our city, and we're going to start tonight with segment 1. We're going to talk about our Phillies, but before we do that, segment 1 tonight is brought to you by Fanatics. If you click the link in the description, you'll see it on the screen down there below. You'll be taken directly to some merchandise. You enter the promo code SUMMER and get 25% off at checkout. So make sure you use the link below to support us. Chris, I know you're a big wrestling guy. Did you see those championship belts they came out with this week?
I did. A little steep, but I'm sure that they're worth it.
That's a good quality belt, my man.
Yeah, man. That's official, man. That's an official one.
You can take that to WrestleMania next year.
Yeah.
For either of you, that could be a little push gift. You guys know about the push gift?
What's the
push gift? I got in trouble for a push gift last week. That I tried to push something off as the push gift. It got quickly nipped in the bud. Wait, when did that become a thing? Has that always been a thing?
So I don't know. I found out about it with Jackson. I didn't know about it leading up to him, though. The push gift guest is basically you get a gift for the mother-to-be for pushing the baby out. It's a push.
So you got to get two, dude. You got to get two push gifts.
It's a 25% off gift code at Fanatics. You can go order that Flyers hat, his and hers.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, we might have to make that happen then. We're back on board with those guys.
So did you have to get 3 push gifts, Al?
I didn't get any push gifts, dude. I wasn't playing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, every day's a push gift, isn't it?
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's called being a good husband and pop.
Yeah, dude. Casey better be happy that I bring her flowers on Valentine's Day every year.
I was going to say, from the makers of Valentine's Day comes push day or push gifts.
Man, I'm not having that.
Rat, whoever that is.
Shout out to my man Greg Diversa live in the chat. He's not happy with guest hat.
Down since day one.
Jesse's
already a polarizing figure with this hat.
Listen, let's get into segment 1, boys. Our Phillies are red hot right now. They are 15-10 in August, going to be 16-10 if they close this one out tonight. They've now won 7 out of 8, set the franchise record for homers in the month of August. It was 51 going into tonight. I think they have at least 4 tonight. Yep. For a team that we've sat here and ridiculed for the lack of power that they showed early in the season. They're really coming around. After tonight, they'll be 74-58, 16 games over 500. And again, they had a 5-game lead in the playoffs going into tonight. I'm not sure what's going on with the Cubs or any of the wild card teams. I want to play a game with you. Rather than sit here, I guess we can talk quickly about what you're seeing right now, but I do have a game that I want to play with you guys rather than just talk about what's going on. But give me your thoughts on the recent play and how excited you are about them moving forward.
Fun stuff. Today on my ride into work, the Phillies version of Dancing on My Own came on, and I turned it all the way up to put all the windows down. Very reminiscent of the run from last year. It's getting me in the mood for the playoffs, getting me in the mood for fall baseball. I mean, look, this team is just doing everything we thought it would be doing from the beginning of the year with all these signings. Trey Turner, yes, the standing ovation was great, but man, got to give that guy credit. He really turned it around. He was having the worst season of his career. And now since then, I mean, I know we're going to talk about it more, but he's really turned everything around. He's hitting for power. He's hitting for average. Stealing bases. So
his defense is picked up too. He's picking the ball up.
Absolutely. Everything is working the way that we thought it would, again, from the beginning of the year. So hats off. They're fun to watch.
Chris?
Yeah, no, and like if you look at the stats too for Harper, I mean, the guy we were talking about not that long ago, he couldn't find his way to hit a home run. It seemed like the power just wasn't there. We were wondering if it was the injury. He's going to end up finishing with over 20, probably 20 plus homers, 70 plus RBIs, and probably still hit over 300. Like in missing 50 games, 40 games? What did he miss in the beginning of the year?
He came back before Memorial Day, so probably at least 30.
Yeah, 30.
A significant chunk of baseball, like at least a month worth, and he's still going to put up legit stats in that amount of time. And also, remember, they scattered some days off for him in and out because of the injury and that kind of stuff too when he did come back. So, I mean, for him to already be at 20 or close to 20 home runs by the end of it from where he was even a month ago, I mean, it felt like he was stuck on 3 or 4 forever. And now he's loaded up.
One more quick mention. We cannot not mention Nick Castellanos. I know he still is frustrating at times with some of the balls he's swinging at, but what a season. It's not over yet. What a season turnaround from last year.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's been awesome. Nicky Bats has definitely showed up the second half. This is the Nicky Bats we thought we were going to get last year. This is the Trey Turner we thought we were going to get earlier in the year. They're coming together now. Even Kyle Schwarber, like he's all or nothing, but he's been hot. He's been doing his thing, and he's going to end up over 100 ribbies, 40 plus homers again. I think that's the first time since Ryan Howard in like the middle of last decade where Philly hit back-to-back 35 plus home run seasons.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been a while.
2015s were terrible.
Yeah.
We got Thomas McGuire in the chat. He said, "What's up, fellas? I love the atmosphere down at the ballpark right now." I had breaking news. Al, you mentioned Nicky Bats. We talked about this on a previous podcast. I don't know if it was on a podcast or off air, but there was the question of whether Liam Castellanos is just by himself at every game. Right?
It was in the text. Well, I don't think it was on the air. It was in the text.
Well, they show this kid, Liam Castellanos. He's probably 10 years old, and all they do is show him sitting by himself. But I have the update on what's going on. So I was down at the ballpark. You know, you guys saw the Instagram post sitting in the second row the other day. So Castellanos' son is not by himself at the games. He actually does not sit in the front row, but when his dad comes up, he weasels his way down to the front row and sits on a stool right in front of these other guys who sit in the front row. He just sits right in front of them. So, and then when his dad's done, he goes back up to the seat. I assume his mother's up there. So I feel better knowing that situation than Nick Castellanos' son just running around the stadium by himself. So I want everybody to make sure we sleep well at night knowing that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure he would have had security or whoever it was watching the whole time. But
did you try to grab him and hold him up in the air for the Lion King cam?
Dude, he looks just like his pop.
Yeah, he looks just like him.
I think I'm going to make Jackson be Castellanos for Halloween. Jackson is sporting a chain these days. I think I'm going to put the fake goatee and the eye paint.
Jackson's becoming a little playboy already?
A little bit, dude. A little bit.
All right.
Good for him. But listen, I want to play a game with you guys because we can sit here and we can be like every other podcast and talk about what's going on in the Phillies team. But I want to compare it to where we were last year. So I want to go through the offense, the starters, the bullpen, and if we have time, we'll get into the manager a little bit. But I want to compare whether or not you are more confident, same confidence, or less confident as to where you were at the end of last year. So I don't want to compare it to, August of this year versus August of last year because we know, we did a podcast last year in September about how much this team was a bunch of losers. Yeah. Let's do.
You can go back and roll the tape on how we felt a year ago.
Yeah. Come World Series last year, our confidence versus where we are right now. So let's start with the lineup. I'll open it up. I don't see any way that you cannot be more confident about this lineup compared to where you were last year. There are really only 2 significant changes. And when you look at it from an entire perspective, it's Reese Hoskins is out. Gene Segura is out. Trey Turner in. And then you have the Jake Cave, Edmundo Sosa spot, give or take a little bit. Obviously, Turner's a monster upgrade over Segura. And there's a downgrade in regards to the other spot. But the key to me is you look at these young guys, Bohm, Stott, and Marsh, and they are significantly better hitters than they were last year.
Yeah.
And they've been guys who we've talked on this podcast earlier this year. They carried this team in May, June, and July. And now you've seen this surge because the other guys have come alive. It's the Bryce Harper has the violent in his swing back. It's the Trey Turner getting hot. It's the Castellanos. Castellanos has been good all year for the most part. It's the Schwarber getting hot at this time. And that's just supplementing the way these younger kids have developed even further. I'm going to the point where I think Bryson Stott's the second best hitter on this team. Maybe third if you want to, if you say Trey's better, which I'm fine with.
We told you about him. Guest and I told you about him.
Listen, I've always been a Stott guy.
You didn't. Whoa.
Not
you
as
might
much
have
as
liked
us.
the guy, but when we said about the batting titles, you questioned it.
No, I thought it was in the future. I didn't think it was this close. But guess I'll give it to you. You were the most bullish on Stott earlier this year, so I will give you that. I always thought there were batting titles in his future. I just didn't see it coming this quick.
Well, listen, he's the man. He might be my favorite guy on the team, to be honest with you. Every time he's and I'll tell you who else we're not even talking about that's also been great. Bohm's been great.
Yeah, I said. Yeah,
I mean, you did. He's been great. Like even tonight, he had a big home run and take the lead when they were trailing 4-2. He's probably. I mean, you could argue he's been the most clutch guy on the team for throughout the whole span of the season.
He's got a clutch gene, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's the guy you want up to bat. Well, besides Bryce, he's the guy you want up to bat when you need to hit.
Question in the chat room: Muto's getting a free out at this point. Why? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. It's because everybody else is hitting.
Yeah, well, Schwarber's hitting bombs, but he's still. I mean, I'm not big on Schwarber these days, but everyone else in the lineup is outplaying last year. Whatever, you know what I mean. Whether it's a version of themselves from last year or whether it's the person they replaced from last year, everyone is outplaying everyone.
Yeah, and I think Schwarber's he's actually been hitting pretty decent the last week or so. He had a 3-hit game, I think it was the other night, and some of that. So he's been okay. But Greg Mike D is actually 100% correct in that Real Muto, it does feel like he gets a free pass. We talk about it. We've been critical of him on this show. I don't know about everywhere else on the Phillies media and the national media and things like that, but Real Muto has been he's had a spotlight on him and a hot seat on this show for quite some time now. Every time somebody's on base, he doesn't show up and come up big. He just doesn't. At least not to this point, he hasn't.
I would agree with you. It's been a disappointing year for JT. I think he had a couple hits last night. He had a couple tonight, so hopefully he comes to life a little bit. But look, if you can manage to get away with hitting JT 7th in your order, you got a lot of good things going on.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
The other thing we have this year's speed on the base pass. We have bona fide threats to steal bases with Stott, Turner, and when Rojas is in the game, which last year we didn't. Last year, JT was the team leader in stolen bases with just 21. I mean, that puts pressure on the defense. It gives them something to think about out there.
And you brought up that's a great point about Rojas. I love Rojas too. I think Rojas is a keeper. I want to hold on to Rojas.
I love Rojas, dude.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite guys. Like if he can learn how to bunt, I know it sounds simple and easy. Obviously, it's more complicated than it seems like. But if he can get that down with that speed, he's going to be even more of a threat. He's never going to be a home run, a big pop guy. He's going to be a guy that's going to go station to station. And seal some bags for you. He is going to win at least. I see at least 2 Gold Gloves from him in his career. I mean, he plays defense so fluent and so easy. I mean, it's crazy.
You guys know I love comparisons. Is it fair to say that Rojas is a rich man's Roman Quinn?
Don't bring up Roman Quinn, dude.
Who?
Fair though, because Roman Quinn was fast as hell, but he couldn't do anything else.
Well, he couldn't stay healthy. That was his issue. He was okay when he played. I think. Well, I don't want to say that
he wasn't even great defensively. He could just run. That was it.
Said he was just fast as hell.
He probably has more pop in his bat than Johan does, but overall, as a player, top to bottom, Rojas is way better than. So yeah, to your point now, I guess he could be a rich man's. I mean, I don't know how much richer he is, but
got my Roman Quinn mention in tonight.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this: there's obviously a spot in the lineup in the playoffs that's going to rotate around between whether it's Sosa at third and Bohm at first and Harper DHing, or you're going to have Rojas in center, Marsh in left, and then it'll be Schwarber DHing with Harper at first, or you have the Jake Cave. Where do you guys sit as your preference of those three guys as the last guy in this order come playoff time?
Out of who? Cave, Sosa, and Rojas?
Cave, Sosa, Rojas.
I like Rojas because at the bottom of the lineup, if you end up sitting down the 8-hole hitter and he's hitting 9, you lead off with him, which I don't mind. But Sosa all of a sudden has some pop in his bat too. I don't mind Sosa in the lineup.
This might be a career year for him with his home runs.
I think so.
He's shown a little pop.
He's got 8 this season.
I agree with you, Al. I think it's Rojas, but I have large concerns that Rojas gets exposed offensively in the playoffs and becomes almost an automatic out at the bottom of the order once playoff time comes. But I'm not sure that Jake Cave or Mundo Sosa is that much of enough of a threat that the upgrade defensively of getting him in the field and getting Schwarber off the field is probably worth it.
That's the big key point too, getting Schwarber off the field defensively because he's lost out there.
Yeah.
And we got Rojas had a great bunt tonight to score a run. I'd say it was probably an average bunt. He bunted it pretty hard. It was just
it probably shouldn't have scored the run. Ohapi got caught in a weird spot and couldn't turn around and get the tag in. But still, even stuff like that, if he can do that kind of stuff and get production as for those squeezes or just sack bunts, that even for a hit, that'll help tremendously for us.
Absolutely. And I think they stole that safety squeeze from the Royals. The Royals did that to them 3 times in that series. It's a great play.
That's all they can. I mean, that's their strength, I guess, is suicide squeezes.
Absolutely. All right. So I think we're all on the same page. We're more confident in this year's offense than last year's offense.
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Let's go to where it gets a little dicey, boys. Starting pitching. Al. Or let's go to Chris. Chris first. Where do you sit starting pitching last year versus starting pitching this year?
That's a tough question. So we all loved Lorenzen a couple weeks ago after that no-hitter. He's been bad since that no-hitter. Tonight he had, I think, 6 innings he pitched. And all 6 innings. 5. I think he started the 6th.
5
Either way, they had
he started 6.
Every inning of the leadoff, I think it was every inning the leadoff guy got on. So he's been kind of leaking oil ever since that no-hitter. But at the top, that's where it starts, right? So Wheeler, Nola, you've got to depend on them. They're the horses. They've got to play like it. Their last starts were lights out, both of them. So if they can turn it around, maybe Nola does an opposite Nola job and he turns it on at the end of the year this year instead of turning it off by now. We'll see. But overall, I think, man, I like the rotation more this year than last year. At least on paper. I do. I trust.
Who do you trust besides Zach?
Well, I think as far as the depth of the rotation, like I'm okay with Taiwan in there in a game. I'm okay with. I think I'm okay with Lorenzen overall. I don't want to have to depend upon. I mean, look, these guys are only going to be starting in a game if it's the NLCS or higher, right? They're not going to be starting in a game if it's the NLDS or for the wild card round. But I'll tell you what. I know it might sound a little bit weird to people. I trust Sanchez. I like Chris Sanchez a lot, and he's pitched well against some good teams this year too. It's not all just about him playing against bad teams.
He's not going to pitch in the playoffs. I mean, you can look at last year. Again, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it because he's been really good, but as bad as he is in reality, Bailey Falter pitched great down the stretch last year and couldn't touch the mound in the playoffs. Rob Thompson would not put him on the mound.
But I trust him, and I trust Sanchez more in a situation where he had to come into a game in the playoffs more than I trust. Than I would have trusted Kyle Gibson last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Into a game.
But Gibson didn't pitch last year. It was Ranger who was pitching better.
Even Falter. Like I think Sanchez is a nice pitcher. I really do. I think that changeup he has, that I think he's got a good out pitch. And I think that he is going to be in the major leagues for a while. I don't think he's a flat. Falter, we knew like he was hot. We didn't think he was a true major league. At least I didn't think he was a true major league pitcher. I'm on record on this show for a while now, not being a fan of Falter. I think Sanchez is legit.
But what do you need?
Trust him in a playoff spot this year?
Now, wait a minute. What do you need in the playoffs in your rotation? You need 2 top-end guys that can win you games against any other team's top guys. It's simple. Last year, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola were better pitchers. They are not as good as they were last year. And for that reason alone, I'm taking last year's rotation because of those top 2 guys. We are deeper this year, but that depth isn't going to matter when you're talking about the guys that we're talking about. When you're talking about the Taijuan Walkers and the Christopher Sanchez, they're nice pieces, but they're not guys that are they're not a Framber Valdez or a Christian Javier. They're like, it's that simple.
How many teams have something like that?
I get, but that's what I mean though. So like, if your top 2 guys are going to be taking a step back, it doesn't matter that you have depth beneath that.
I'm not ready to say Zach's going to take a step back. I thought the other night was the best start he had all year. He was electric.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. You can argue that same thing for Nola. Nola was electric the other night.
But Nola has let me down so many times.
We're all scarred.
I'm not ready to put my trust in it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I understand. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not saying you're wrong on that. I'm just saying that he has to do well. If we're going to be successful, he has to do well. So we might as well just support him. Him. Give him the Trey Turner ovations.
He's starting game 2. Like there's all this talk about not wanting to put him in the rotation.
No, you got to still go. 2. You got to still go Wheeler, Nola, 1 and 2.
Because his ceiling is higher than any of those other guys' ceilings.
And not only that, the criticism of Thompson, if he tried to get cute and put anybody else in those spots and it didn't work, he would never live it down.
And nobody else deserves it.
He wouldn't do it.
He has to go with
game 3, though? Who's your game 3?
Taijuan.
Yeah, I agree.
And okay,
Taijuan's got. I know it's an overrated stat in baseball, but he's got 15 wins, and his ERA is around. Listen, an ERA of 4 right now in baseball is an ERA years ago of around 3.25.
Let me tell you this about Aaron Nola though. He might not be pitching that well as far as the eye test goes, as far as some of these stats go, but in his career, he has his lowest BABIP right now.
Dude,
271.
All about the BABIP.
271.
And Wheeler, he's got some good next level stats too. I mean, both those guys' whips are still really good. The Ks for Wheeler are still really good. Their ratios for their strikeout walk ratios are still good. It seems like Wheeler can't beat the Nationals for some reason. Not only can't beat them, he gets rocked by them. And unfortunately, they're in our division, so he sees them a couple times a year. That hurts his ERA. And I think that, Nola just for whatever reason gets beat in like 1 inning, 4 or 5 runs in that 1 inning, and that takes him out of every start. He can't keep the ball in the yard all the time. And then once he gives one up, he loses his momentum in that inning, and then that's it.
Wheeler, for whatever reason, right now has his highest ground ball to fly ball ratio. So it's his lowest ground ball percentage of his career and his highest fly ball percentage of his career. So I don't know what does that mean? Does it mean he's leaving the ball up more? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, there's one name that we haven't mentioned, and I'm curious to where does Ranger Suarez fall into this? Because I think Ranger ends up in the bullpen.
Well, at least we know him and Lorenzen and Sanchez all have experience as that long reliever role. Sanchez even Suarez has that experience too as a deep end guy in the
right. He's closed out. He was a closer for half the season a few years ago.
So that's good that we have that depth. It's a good problem for us to have. But if that's the case, and you need a 4th starter for a series, which again will probably be NLCS or World Series, Seltzer, who do you trust for that 4th game? Really, the 3rd or 4th game for you?
I mean, if I'm getting the Ranger Suarez of the past few years, I trust Ranger, but he hasn't been that guy this year.
Well, I'm saying if he is in a bullpen role in the postseason, who's your 3 and 4 starter?
I mean, it's got to be Lorenzen and Walker just for the experience. Chris Sanchez has probably outpitched them, but I don't know if Chris Sanchez is ready for the big game. Again, we look at Bailey Falter, pitched great down the stretch, got put on the mound in 1 game and didn't last the first inning.
Let me ask you this, because on the subject of this series with the Angels. So you guys saw the Angels GM just went ham and just
crazy,
fired like 5 or 6 dudes, just cut before the game tonight because he's like, screw it, I don't care anymore. Whatever. You go after Giolito?
He's not going to make it. It goes from like worst
The
record to
waiver
best
wire.
record.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he gets there, I'm interested in a lot of those guys. I would be interested in Ronaldo Lopez. We could talk about him in the bullpen part. Even Grichuk as a right-handed bat
That's
in the
another thing I
outfield.
was gonna say.
Those
But
are
here's
all
my
guys
thing,
I have
though.
interest in.
Here's my thing with the waiver wire. So is it affected by the fact that I know the order goes like worst team gets first priority, right? So those teams obviously are going to be out on. There's no point. The teams that are decent though in the playoff race, if they don't think they can afford him going forward in the future, do they maybe get hesitant to claim him now, or you think they still just go for him for the rest of the season and just figure it out at that point when they get there?
No, I'm sure ownership's going to have a say in regards to whether or not we can afford them. But I don't think any of those guys are making big time money.
Well, Giolito, the market for starting pitchers this winter is not great. I mean, Nola, for that reason, I want Nola back. On a good deal, I want Nola back because I looked at that list and it's not a great year to be needing a 1 or number 2 pitcher.
Wasn't Giolito a trade candidate guy? Wasn't he?
Yes.
Well,
He did get traded.
He got traded. Yeah, he got traded to the Angels.
The Angels went in, and then
that's right. He's in the White Sox, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Angels went in big, thinking that they were like 2 games out. They went for it, and then they got burned, and then he just cut them.
So is Giolito? Is he like a rich man's Randy Wolf?
I would say Bryson Stott is a rich man Cesar Hernandez.
Oh, I totally agree with that. That's spot on.
Or maybe or
Look at you, guest. I love it.
Or Bohm is a rich man's Kim
Wes Helms.
We're a rich man's Bill Simmons in the Ringer. Some people.
There you go.
So one word: are you more confident in this year's rotation or last year's rotation? Guest.
Yeah.
This year's.
Yeah. You said one word. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I misworded that. This year's.
We're live, folks. You're looking live.
Last year's rotation. Give me 2022.
Yeah, I'm going last year as well, just because I think I'm getting a better Aaron Nola than I'm getting this year.
That's totally agree.
Let's move on to the bullpen, and we'll start with Al in regards to last year's bullpen versus this year's bullpen. Where are you at?
So call me old school, but I like having a defined closer. So I like the fact that we have Craig Kimbrell in that role. Last year, there was a million different guys. It seemed like every guy on the roster had 5 saves by the end of the season. However, this year, I mean, look, there's been injuries. There's been stuff going on. Alvarado's been unhittable since returning from the injured list. 3 innings pitched, 0 hits, 6 strikeouts. But Sir Anthony Dominguez has been more inconsistent. He's turning it on a little bit as of late in August. He's only given up 1 earned run. But he also only has 5 Ks, so his strikeout rate is way down from where it was. Hoffman's been great, but the biggest thing for me is that scrub ass David Robertson is finally gone. So any bullpen without David Robertson, and I know he pitched well at some points for us last year, but I was so tired of him. I'm taking 2023 over 2022 as far as the bullpen goes.
And he's bit the Marlins this year.
Yeah,
we got him at the end of a couple games earlier when they got him.
He's a thief.
Yeah.
Guess.
I agree with Al with the closer part, and with Alvarado. Other than that, last year just had more, I think, steam behind those guys, literally and figuratively. This year, Dominguez scares me, man. I've been so disappointed in his season this year, top to bottom. He's scary, dude.
He doesn't know where the ball's going.
Yeah, he's scary. I don't know. The confidence in him just plummeted. So Kimball's been great. Alvarado's been great. He gave up a home run tonight, I believe, Alvarado. But he's been great. He's an ERA is like 1.3. He's awesome. And he hasn't thrown too many innings this year, which is big because last year he was getting thrown out there every night.
Yeah.
But overall, man, I have more faith in the bullpen, honestly, going into last year than I do this year.
I think this year's is the ceiling is higher, but
I would agree with that. Soto's been good ever since he had a rough start in the beginning of the year. Ever since then, he's been better. But overall, I just feel like, I mean, at the end of the year, you guys remember Dominguez was lights out. Alvarado was like I just feel like we have more clicking going on in that bullpen at the right time. Not to say that this year has been bad. I just think it's been inconsistent. I mean, you got guys like Phil and Kobe in the bullpen. Like, even though they're not going to see the field probably in the playoffs, but still, like, that just brings it down overall for me in comparison.
Yeah, so Dominguez had a rough September last year, but really found it in the playoffs and maybe even the last week of the season. But Chris, I agree with you. This year, it's been almost the entire season where he's kind of been lost and has not been able to throw the ball over the plate. The biggest thing for me is, and this is just more of a gut feeling, I get such Billy Wagner vibes from Craig Kimbrell.
I love Kimbrell.
I know. I just get a vibe that he's going to let me down in the biggest spot. I always think about the Craig Biggio homer that Billy Wagner gave up, that 3-run homer down the left field line. Yeah. And I feel those vibes when I look at Craig Kimbrell pitch. And that's more gut feeling than anything statistical because he's been really, really good all season. For me, I probably have a little more faith in last year's bullpen, but it's close. Because remember going into the playoffs last year, we were nervous about that bullpen with Brad Hand, and we didn't know who was closing. But for me, like this year, it's like Kimbrell's the 9th, Alvarado's the 8th.
Right.
Who's throwing the 7th in a playoff game? Is it Hoffman?
Probably Hoffman. But that's what I like. I like that consistency. And we know that we have a manager that might go away from that because he likes just plugging and playing and going by feel. But I like the fact that I know who's going to come in and depending on the situation.
And in theory, one name we haven't talked about that I think has been good is Strom. Strom's been good all year.
Strom's really good. And in theory, like you got 3 guys right now who can close on this team on this bullpen this year.
I don't trust Soto to close the playoff game.
Wait, who are you saying?
I was going to say, as far as if they pitch up to their potential, you got Kimbrell, you've got Alvarado, and you got Soto.
I wouldn't want Soto. I mean, I wouldn't want him.
See, I trust Soto at this point. I do. I'm not crazy about lefties as close. I've mentioned that before about lefties as closers. That's why Alvarado, for me, I like him better in the setup role. But
can you see
I think that they could still get the outs.
Yes. Can you see like Game 5 in the NLDS against the Braves, and we're holding a 1-run lead in the 9th, and here comes Ronald Acuna, and we got Gregory Soto on the mound. Come on, man. Listen,
Soto's been good. Nah. What game has he been like, whoa, this dude's out of control and just totally lost his mind? Like what is
he's still got an ERA? I know he struggled early in the year. His ERA is still like 4.8, 4.9.
His ERA was like 15 in the first month of the year.
But his August hasn't been great either.
He gets rocked.
What about his inherited ERA?
I don't know if I can find that.
That is hidden underneath the Bob Bipp. You got to go deep for that stat.
the Bob Bipp blanket.
All right, so we got 2 2022s and 1 2023 in regards to the bullpen. We got a few minutes left for
segment. He is not a fan of. He's not a fan of
the Versa would rather have 1996 bullpen.
Heathcliff Slocum.
Slocum. Jeff Brantley in the pen coming out.
Yeah, Chris Brock.
Jesus.
Let's we got a couple minutes left for segment 1, so let's touch on the last piece, which is the manager. And for me, I have to go. I mean, it's the same guy, but you have to go last year if you're me, because we didn't know the warts that Rob Thompson had going into the playoff run last year. And to me, he's a great players manager, and that's important during the course of the season in regards to personalities, keeping the team together. And by all accounts, this team loves each other. There's a chemistry that this team has that we haven't seen since that 08, 09 group.
Team is fun.
And pretty much any team in this city. It's been a long time.
I also have a theory on that, though. The last 10 years, we had a lot of guys that didn't speak English. And like, I'm serious. Like, guys that with personality that can go out there and talk to the media and you can understand them. And I don't mean this in any type of, like negative way, but I think that has a lot to do with the chemistry in the clubhouse.
It could be a chemistry barrier. Absolutely.
100%, dude. You have guys that can't understand each other. That's big.
Yeah.
I'm with you. But at the same time, Rob Thompson showed some issues with some certain moves in the playoffs last year. And I see it again in the regular season again. I don't wonder why we're going to make the playoffs. I have no problem with that. But why are we starting Castro tonight?
Yeah.
Why is he playing?
Get the extra rest.
If you say I want to give Bryson Stott a night off, that's fine. Then why are you pinch hitting for him in the sixth? Pinch hitting with him in the sixth inning where he's playing half the game anyway.
He
Yeah.
stinks. I'll
He's
tell you
terrible,
what else I didn't like was the time in the game, Seltzer. I don't know if you saw it or Al, when Ohtani was up with the guy on third base, and you're down a run at the time, and they pitch to Ohtani, and he gets an RBI out of in that spot. There's no reason to pitch to Ohtani in that spot. Put him on first base. See if you can turn to or whatever. It's Ohtani. Like, he's going to get, if at worst, he's going to get a sac fly. He's not going to just sit there and strike out.
Who was it? Was it Matt Chapman on the Blue Jays where it was that viral clip of him going in the dugout where Ohtani hit a homer off him and he goes to his manager and he goes,
yes,
he's the only guy on the team that can fucking hit. Why are we pitching to him?
Yeah. I saw that too. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no we just said earlier, they cut like 5 people, didn't they cut what's his face? Hunter Renfroe, I think they cut earlier today. Like they're cutting some legit dudes, Giolito, another one. But like, as far as guys that like with pop in their bat, they're gonna cut Grichuk, and there's no weapons on that team. Why are you pitching to him?
Yeah. I don't understand why, and I know it's because of the lefties, his reasoning, but why they keep flip-flopping Harper and Castellanos. Like, just bat Bryce in the 3-hole and let's move on. There's just I just don't love the moves the guy makes as a manager. Granted, it has worked so far, so it's hard to really complain about, but it worries me in a big spot that he can get outmanaged in certain games. But I think managing it on all the 4 major sports, baseball managing is probably the least important of the 4, to be honest.
It is. And that's what I was going to say for my answer. Can I just say push? Because it's like you said, it's the same dude and he's doing the same stuff. So it's I think in the playoffs, it's questionable when he does this stuff all the time. In the playoffs, it gets, it's raised more. It's more in your face when he's doing stuff and it doesn't work. But it's the same guy. I don't know, man. Give me 2021 Rob Thompson for all I care. 2024 Rob Thompson.
Where was Rob Thompson in 2021? Is he in the Yankees still?
Dude, who knows? I don't know.
We're in the minority, I think, overall, as far as the opinion on Thompson. I think we all agree that we've been critical of him and we're not crazy about him. Feels like the city loves him. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the players love him. I get it. But he has made some weird decisions. I just feel like he seems like the kind of guy who's having the players call the games for him. And he's just like, you want to get in? I'll get you in. All right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like, we said he's a player's coach or manager, and it really feels like that almost to a fault. So I'd love to see him down Broad Street with the World Series trophy. We'll see how it goes.
Who am I to second guess him?
Right. We're not in the dugout, so it is what it is.
Right. And to your point, like Chris, I thought that, and it has worked out, so I'll give him credit for it. But the team was rolling with Bohm in the 2-hole, and Trey had just started to get on track. And I thought he made the move to move Trey back into the 2-hole a little too quickly. It paid off. I may have been wrong in that situation.
I thought the same thing.
I thought for a young guy like Bohm, who's been hitting the ball well, to just get demoted after he's still, knocking the ball around the yard, I thought it was a little bit quick for me. But I agree. It's just a matter of, Trey's hitting. We got to put the veteran back in that 2-hole.
But I think that's part of the magic of Rob Thompson, too, is that Bohm probably doesn't see it as a demotion, right?
And he knows you got to know your guys. Any coach, manager, any team, any level, you got to know your guys, your players, and like Schwarber in the leadoff spot. Most people hate that, but it works for them. It works for him. Again, we're not in the dugout.
And he's sticking with it. And I think the question was asked. He did an interview on WIP a few weeks ago, and they said, "Have you given any thought to moving Trey Turner into the 1-hole, or what would it take to get Trey into the 1-hole?" And he said, Kyle Schwarber getting injured.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
He's locked in there. All right, gents, we got a lot of Phillies talk to come in the next few weeks as well. Anything else before we close it out?
It's fun, man. It's a good run that they're on. Hopefully this rides all the way into October and November. Because, listen, in a few weeks, the leaves are going to be changing. Kids are already back in school, ready for some base. Huh?
So are some of the adults.
Some of the adults are back in school. We're ready for some meaningful baseball games and pennant chases, pennant races, World Series games. We're ready to go. So hopefully they can hold their end of the bargain up.
Yeah. It's fun.
And I want to add one last thing before we move on to segment 2. I was down at the ballpark I mentioned on Sunday. The Phillies have been bad for so long, guys. I was still wearing a Jimmy Rollins Philly shirt, and it was time for an upgrade. So I went in, I bought the Bryson Stott tee.
That's
I
a
got
good
rung
one.
up. It was $35, $40 for the t-shirt. Don't go down the ballpark and buy a t-shirt when you're down there. Go to the link below on the Fanatics. Use our link. Buy yourself a Philly shirt before you're down to the yard. 25% off if you use the promo code SUMMER before you do that. So make sure you check out Fanatics. They brought this segment to you.
And treat yourself and get yourself a WWE championship belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unify that title.
Anything but a Flyers hat.
Right, Roman Reigns, what's up?
All right. So if you're new to the podcast, we do 3 segments here. So you may think the podcast is over, but it's really not.
Just begun.
We have previewed 7 of the 8 divisions for the NFL season. We have 1 left to go. So we're going to open segment 2. The last division we have is the AFC East. And guys, I was very intrigued by this division actually as I went through it. There are some really good teams. So we're going to get into that in a minute. But Al?
Yeah, listen, you talked about really good teams. You're talking about chewing on some things. Let me tell you about this Righteous Felon jerky. I don't know if you guys have seen it or if you've had it, but if you go to www.righteousfelon.com, you use the promo code OCSN, you're going to get 15% off of all of your jerky orders. And every order over $50 gets free shipping. Guys, let me tell you about some of these flavors. You ever heard of the OG Hickory? You ever heard of the OG Hickory?
Yeah.
Or the Habanero Escobar?
The habanero, listen, all the spicy flavors they have are legit spicy. You're not going to get fake spice out of them.
But now, wait a minute, Seltzer. Habanero Escobar, is that a Righteous Felon beef jerky or is that a wrestling jobber?
We'll find out in segment 3 in a few weeks.
Might have got your ass there.
So listen.
Is that a rich man Slim Jim?
It's a very rich man. This is a Elon Musk Slim Jim. All right. So go to righteousfelon.com, use the promo code OCSN, get 15% off, and enjoy some jerky.
True story. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm a big golfer, and every year I'm a member of a private club, and we play with gap matches, so we play against other clubs, and they're supposed to provide lunch afterwards. We got matched with a public course. I'm not gonna blow up their spot, but they didn't provide lunch afterwards. But at the turn, they gave us free hot dogs, but they had the Righteous Felon jerky. I never had it before. Opened up the bag. Immediately after, I went to my Giant supermarket and bought 3 bags. Some of the best jerky I've ever had, no lie.
There you go.
Well, make sure you check it out.
Big jerky on the course guy, by the way.
Yeah. The only problem with jerky is I don't feel like I ever get enough.
I eat the whole bag while I'm out there.
In a minute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into AFC East. So again, for those of you guys new, we will start this segment based on the Vegas odds from worst to first. So we're going to start with the New England Patriots. 8-9 last year. The over-under for them this year is 7.5. Mac Jones took a giant step backwards last year. He dropped 10 yards per game, 8 points in QB rating, 14 points in QBR. He was sacked 6 more times than he was the year before, despite playing 3 less games. Defensively, they were still decent. Al, where are you at on the New England Patriots?
I just want to say, first of all, how jarring it is still to hear the New England Patriots being in the basement of the division. Like, that's still, even though I know we're a few years now removed from TB12, taking his talents to Tampa. But listen, when it comes to the 2023 Patriots, first of all, I think it's a big deal that Bill O'Brien is back, right? Because he's actually an offensive coach slotted into the offensive coordinator position. Mac Jones was pressured nearly 20% of the time last season. This O-line is bad, mediocre at best. The defense is pretty good. You know what you're getting out of a Bill Belichick defense. Matthew Judon, 15.5 sacks last season. They drafted Christian Gonzalez to improve the secondary. At the end of the day, I know I preach about Pete Carroll, and I talk about him being a great coach and just knowing how to win. So how am I going to sit here and crap on one of the greatest coaches of all time and Bill Belichick? I'm going to do it because simply the offense is still just too bad to trust this team. I think Mac Jones continues to get exposed, and he continues to regress. And I think this team limps to a ceiling of 6 wins. Guest, 6 wins is the ceiling.
Disrespect you guys put on Mac Jones. He had no coach last year.
I don't want to hear it. If he had talent, he would win. It wouldn't matter.
Listen, I agree with you that Bill O'Brien is a big deal. And I'm not saying that the Patriots are going to be a world beater by any stretch of the imagination. But I will say I think that they've gone to the point where they've almost become underrated at this point. Because even though I'm not saying they're a world beater, they're still a team that can come up and bite you at any given week. Obviously, with Belichick as the head coach, it's always a dangerous team. I like Mac Jones. I think that especially with a legit offensive coordinator, he will show teams. He's still very young. He still has room to grow. And I think he can be all right. Defensively, the Patriots were third in the league last year in sacks.
They get after the quarterback.
The line is bad. I said it, but just because you're young doesn't mean you're good.
No, I'm saying that they were third. I'm saying the defense was third in the league in sacks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the defense is good. The defense is good year to year.
And that's going to keep them in games. Now, they do have an overrated stat. And the overrated stat that's in their favor is that they were 7-0 last year in games where they held the team under 20 points. And my thing is this. What's the record of every team in the NFL when they hold a team under 20 points? Unless you're the Broncos last year.
I was just going to say
games that were like 13-8. You're probably going to have a predominantly winning record. But they were 1-9 last year in games where the defense gave up at least 20 points. That is kind of astounding. But again, full potential of the offense. I think they can tread around 500 mark, which won't be good enough in this division to do a lot of damage. I'll say 8 wins for the Patriots this year, putting them just in the. Did you have them at 7.5 in our official line?
7.5 is the line.
Okay, so 7.5. So I'll take them barely with the over, but I'll go with the over for New England.
Okay.
I'll leave it Mac Jones.
I'm in the middle of you guys. I'm not out on Mac Jones either, but I don't think they have the weapons around him to fully make him succeed at this point. I look at the schedule, and to me, the first 4 weeks of the season are going to determine what happens with this team. You have the Eagles and the Dolphins at home, and then they go to the Jets and to the Cowboys. If this team is 1-3 or 0-4 at that point in the season, does Belichick really want to deal with it at that point? Is he going to pull a Popovich and just say, you know what, I'm older, I've been through the wars, maybe we just don't have it with this group. They went to Bailey Zappi, who they cut today last year. I'm just in this division where I think there's some other really good teams. I think they'll play hard, but I just don't think they have enough weapons. I got them at 6-11 as well. I'm going on the under this year. I'll disagree with Al where he said it's their ceiling. I think if the things work out well for them, that they could be an 8 or 9 win team. But I'm going to fall back to 6-11 on the New England Patriots. All right, let's go to the next team. One of the more intriguing teams in the NFL, the New York Jets. The Jets are 7-10 last year. Over under for them is 9.5 this year. They're coming off their 6th straight losing season, despite having the 4th best defense in the NFL. They lost 6 in a row to close out the year after I think Mike White got hurt. They have the longest active streak in the NFL without making the playoffs. They obviously make the giant move this year to get Aaron Rodgers, as they sat last year and pretty much said, what could have been if we would even had an average quarterback. They probably are a second-round divisional playoff team if they have an even average quarterback with the defense they had. Last year's draft class was phenomenal with Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, all tremendous. They also brought Dalvin Cook back. Listen, here's where I'm at with the Jets. There's one giant elephant in the room that nobody's really talking about. Aaron Rodgers wasn't that good last year. He draw a 4% drop in his completion percentage, a 2.2% drop in his touchdown percentage. His interception rate more than doubled. His QB rating dropped 20 points. He was still decent because those numbers are dropping from elite levels. But he's going to be 40 this year. Does he still have it in the tank to carry this team? Or again, am I looking at a guy who is going to struggle early on and somebody who is not afraid to point fingers? And then what happens to this team if something like that happens? I love Garrett Wilson. I love Breece Hall. But I'm also worried from Breece Hall's sake. He's coming off an injury. And Dalvin Cook is Aaron Rodgers' boy. Like that, Aaron Rodgers is responsible for bringing him in. I think Dalvin Cook's going to get at least the lion's share of the workload there when he's not the more talented back. The beginning of their schedule is really tough. And I mentioned last year with Russell Wilson, I don't like new quarterbacks on new teams in the beginning of the season. I think it takes time to gel. I think the Jets are going to be disappointed again this year. I have them at 7-10, and the Jets will continue to flounder and be looking for another quarterback again next year when Aaron Rodgers hangs it up.
My goodness. Chris, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that you didn't mention, Seltzer, but the Jets were, I mean, they had a stretch last year where they were really good. And that was without Aaron Rodgers. Now, even if Aaron Rodgers isn't Aaron Rodgers, as we know him in that elite sense, he's still at worst going to be an average quarterback. And I look at the Jets this year almost how the Broncos were for a while with Peyton Manning when he was past his prime. Because I had the Jets winning 11 games this year. And I think they could win more than that. But I'm going to say 11 because of their defense. I love the Jets' defense this year. I love that they drafted Will McDonald from Iowa State early in the first round. I love that they have Sauce Gardner as maybe the best corner in football. I love that they have Quinn Williams, who's one of the best D linemen in football. And those guys not only are great players on the field, but they've shown to be leaders off of it as well. And this team, I feel like, is going to win this division. They are my best bet to hit the over in their win total. And I don't care about Aaron Rodgers being great or not. I don't think he has to be great for them to win the division and go to the playoffs this year for the Jets. I think that he needs to just be good, and this team can be really good. You know, the last Pro Bowl quarterback that the Jets had, can you tell me who that was? You know who it was?
Revis.
No, quarterback.
Oh,
I'm going to Chad Pennington make a Pro Bowl.
Chad Adam Marshall.
The last
his new last arm. Sanchez might have made one.
The last Jets Pro Bowl quarterback was in 2008. That Brett Favre.
Woo-hoo. Shout out Brett.
They were 9-7 that year. He went to the Pro Bowl. So again, what's in common? Packers and Jets, right? Just like what we have now with Rodgers. I'm not again. If what's his name? What's old boy's name on the Ravens? The back
Huntley, Tyler Huntley.
Huntley. If Huntley made a Pro Bowl last year, then Rodgers can still make a Pro Bowl being decent. So, but yeah, I like the Jets this year, and again, more because of their defense.
So sometimes when you go third in these things, like you're left with the scraps on the table. There's not a lot for me to repeat here, but I am definitely siding with Guest here. I just think that this team is potentially an elite team defensively. I think Aaron Rodgers is in that mindset, that mode that we saw Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Phil Rivers, some of these guys get when they were in their older 30s. They've realized, hey, you know, I'm not dialing the clock back. I'm not drinking a fountain of youth. I just have to make sure I don't make mistakes. And I know what it takes to win. I know what it takes to lead a team. And I think that's what Aaron Rodgers' mindset is.
What makes you think Aaron Rodgers has that in his personality?
You've been watching Hard Knocks?
He watched the first 2 episodes.
That dude's just chilling, man. He's just out there like he has like such a laid back mindset. He's helping Zach Wilson out. He's calling plays on offense. Like I like
he's running the show just like the Phillies guys are running the show. They ain't gonna say no to anything that guy wants to do.
And the Phillies are cruising into the playoffs.
Yeah,
one thing that nobody mentioned, they have what has to be the hardest schedule in the NFL in the first 6 weeks, but it's an absolute dream after their week 7 bye, which includes a stretch of Miami at home, Atlanta at home, Houston at home, at Miami, Washington at home, at Cleveland, at New England to end the season.
Yes, if they only win 7 games with that schedule, then something went terribly wrong or someone got hurt. That's
possible too. He's 40 years old. He could very well get hurt.
Yeah, listen. Well, anybody can get hurt.
Listen, Guest, you picked the Jets to win 2 games last year. You were way off on them then. You're way off on them again now.
I'm going for 180 on the Jets.
Yeah.
Now I feel a little bit bad that I'm on Guest's side here. But Guest, with that said, I'm with you on the double. Best bet on the over. I also have them at 11-6 and potentially winning the division.
Potentially. Oh, keyword.
All right. So we got 2 overs on the Jets, best bets, and we got an under from myself.
A lot of Jets love in the comments.
Yeah, a lot of Jets
love. We went out after the bye.
Miami Dolphins, 9-8 last year, over under 9.5. First year coach Michael McDaniel. had that team moving until the Tua debacle, obviously the concussions. They were 8-4 in games that Tua started last year. Al, let's start with you with the Miami Dolphins.
So it's all about Tua. Can he stay healthy, and should he even be playing football anymore? I don't know that the answer to either of those questions is yes. We all know about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They're 1 or 1A as far as receiving duos in the NFL, up there with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But this comes down to protection. Can the O-line make a leap? Can they keep Tua off of the turf? And if so, this team can potentially win the East. Jalen Ramsey is a huge pickup, and he's going to help a lot because here is a list of receivers that Miami's going to see this season. Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, DeAndre Hopkins, and CeeDee Lamb. You can't love every team in the division, though. And I just gave a lot of love to the Jets. I still hate their dork coach, Mike McDaniel. Such a dork. The best thing for me with the Dolphins is that they get to play the Eagles in their Kelly Green debuts. So that's cool. I have the Dolphins at 9-8 this season, so teetering right on the line there of mediocre and good. But it depends all on Tua.
Al, I agree 100%. I had them at the same record, and on the opposite end of the Jets, the Dolphins have a really tough schedule, especially towards the second half of the year. Kansas City, then they have Vegas, but then they go at the Jets, at Washington, which is always a tough game, a little tricky. Tennessee, Jets again, Dallas, at Baltimore, Buffalo. That is tough. Yep. And guess what? Tua, like you said, I think the Dolphins are overrated. I'll say like I think they'll win 9 games, but there's some people out there who think this team can really do damage in the playoffs. And Tua's one hit away from being done. Tyreek Hill always has a history of a hammy or anything like that where he gets hurt and misses a couple games. I don't trust their coach. I just have a lot more questions about the Dolphins than confidence. And to me, the over-under 9.5, I think is high based on the fact that their quarterback he played 11 of 17 games last year, and there's no sign that we know definitively he won't do that again based on being a concussion issue. Even with Tua, they were 7-4. It wasn't like they were like 10-1 or something crazy. They were 7-4. They were a good team. They weren't a great team.
8-4.
Since 7-4 in games when Tua entered and exited healthy.
Right.
So I don't think that they are going to be that much better even with him than that. So with that hard schedule, 9 wins for me is like this. I think that's like the ceiling for the Dolphins.
I agree.
Challenge bet, $20, Jets versus Dolphins. Me and you. Straight up.
Well, for which they're in the division. So which game? The one in New York?
Who wins more games?
I'll take
the Dolphins. You take the Jets.
Oh yeah. I'm in. Yeah, I'm in on that.
Included in this. I'll take that bet.
Yeah, I'm in on that.
Well, he was hating on the Dolphins more than you were.
Yeah, no, I'm in on that, Seltzer.
All right.
Well, you're taking the Jets?
I'm taking the Jets.
I want the Jets.
All right, $10 on each of you.
Let's duke it out.
$10 and a bag of habanero, what did I say, Escobar beef jerky.
Done.
Pablo Escobar beef jerky.
Shout out righteousfelon.com.
There you go.
All right, so I'm bullish on the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel, I think he's a nerd, but I think he's a damn good football coach.
Why?
Because the fact of the matter is he went into Buffalo in a playoff game last year with Skylar Thompson and had them on the ropes, despite all the stuff that was happening with Buffalo at that point in time.
That's what I was going to say. They had a lot more going on than that football field.
But it doesn't matter. They still shouldn't have been in that football game, even because they were 17-point underdogs, and they had them on the ropes. They were, I think, 7-1 or 8-1 at one point in the season. He had it going until Tua got hurt. And that offense was electric. And Al, you mentioned the receivers are fantastic. The running game, it's a little bit by committee, but they've done a good job running the football. Tua was taking judo classes this year to learn how to fall and not hit his head. Did you not see that?
Look, dude.
He better do more than that. He better wear that protective covering that they wear in training camp on his helmet.
Vic Fangio is in as defensive coordinator. I think I trust him as defensive mind. I have him at 12-5 this year.
Oh boy!
I have him
again with that schedule they have. If they go 12, if they win 12 games with that schedule, then they might be a contender for the AFC. But I don't see that happening. I just don't.
All right. So we have
I'll take that bet.
Major disagreements on the Dolphins and the Jets.
What was the other one we had last week, Celtics? What was the bet we had?
Devontae Adams and touchdown or something.
Oh yeah. Devontae and
We'll have to look it
some
up.
bets, I forgot it already.
We'll check the tape.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the last team in the division, the Buffalo Bills. 13-3 last year. Obviously, they missed the one game with the why am I blanking on the guy's name?
DeMar Hamlin.
DeMar Hamlin. Thank you. The DeMar Hamlin situation. Over under is 10.5. They've won double-digit games the last 4 years. They've won the AFC East 3 years in a row. They were second in offense. They were sixth in defense before bowing out too early in the playoffs. Yet again, Sixers-esque to Cincinnati. I'll start, if you guys don't mind, on Buffalo. There are 3 losses last year where by a combined 8 points, including that wacky-ass loss to the Minnesota Vikings in a game they really should not. They fumbled the ball on their own 1-yard line trying to take a knee. Dalton Kincaid is a extra gear offensively for what they need. Gabe Davis played the whole second half of the year with a high ankle sprain. James Cook ready to step into the lead role as the running back. I've always been bullish on Devin Singletary, but I think James Cook is probably better. And there's one other thing, guys. The pressure's off. This team had so much expectation going into last year that they were the team to beat in the AFC. Now I think if you ask people, not off, but it's backed off. They were the favorites in the AFC going into last year. Now it's Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo's almost like an afterthought, I feel like. And I think they're under the radar. I think they're going to make plenty of noise. I think that number is disrespectful for a team that's been that good for that long. They are still built to win. I have them at 13-4. They're my best bet. And I think they are a lie. I don't want to say sleeper. Sleeper's not the right term for it, but for some reason they're under the radar this year.
What's their number again? Is it 11?
10.5.
10.5?
10.5.
All right. Well,
how's that being disrespected?
No, well, listen, it seems like there's suddenly like the chic pick to be a disappointment for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Because they've been a disappointment.
Well, listen, I don't like the situation last year. Like, I'm not saying it was that could have been a major factor in that locker room.
You just said that they're Sixers-esque, and then you're going to sit here and say they're not a disappointment. Are we not disappointed in the Sixers?
No, but
that's in their playoff performance. But we're talking regular season wins right now. We're not talking. We're not talking.
But you're saying about pressure. Look, there's still pressure. Well, let Al go for his thing here. I don't want to cut my man's time off. Go ahead, Al.
Thanks, guest.
Yeah, go
appreciate it. So Seltzer mentioned Dalton Kincaid. I actually think that was like a weird pick because they're still ignoring the fact that they don't really have a second wide receiver. You mentioned Gabe Davis. I'm not a Gabe Davis guy. Is that right? Is that name right?
Yeah, it's right. I like
to screw a name up this show so far. So, is there any truth to the rumor that Diggs wants out? I don't know. The defense is underrated, but everything changed once Von Miller tore his ACL, and we know that he's going to miss at least 4 games this season. He's going to be a welcome addition whenever he returns. I just think people are getting bored of this team for some reason. Like, they're not the sexy new toy anymore. Josh Allen isn't the sexy new toy anymore as far as quarterbacks go. He's starting to get leapfrogged by guys like Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence. They have a tremendously easy schedule from weeks 2 through 7 where they play the Raiders, Commanders, Dolphins, Jags, Giants, Pats, Bucks. I think they take a step back from 13 wins, but 11-6 is still probably their floor. I have them at 11-6. I have them in the over.
Well, they haven't won fewer than 11 games in the regular season in the last 3 years. But because of all those questions you just said, Al, I actually have them doing just that this year. I have them winning 10 games, 10-7. I'm over the Bills. And that's probably where a lot of people are at too. I'm over the Bills. I'm over thinking that Josh Allen is a winning quarterback in terms of when it matters. I'm over all that stuff. I got at this point see it to believe it again. Seltzer, you just talked earlier about that Dolphins game when in their backyard in the snow, in every condition that you would want for your team as a Bill fan or a player, they still came up short. Josh Allen still looked like crap.
And I'm giving them a pass. They almost saw a teammate die on the field.
Okay.
And the year before, Josh Allen did not let the team down in Kansas City. He played phenomenal.
So is the Hamlin thing valid or is it not valid? Because you've already last segment or with the Dolphins, you said it wasn't valid. Now you're saying it is valid. So
What do you mean with the Dolphins? I said it wasn't valid.
When we were talking about the Dolphins, and I said about how they had other things going on with Buffalo off the field in that game, which is why they lost. And then you kind of spun it where you were saying that was not like it wasn't an issue, and now you're saying it was an issue.
No, I think it was an issue, but even if for Buffalo's sake, I understand what you're saying. But for what I was saying is for Buffalo's sake, even with distraction, they should have beaten Miami worse than they did. I think they took Miami lightly, is I would say.
I think there's a reason why Stephon Diggs had that reaction he had in the playoffs last year. He's also sick of it. And I think, Al, when you mentioned about if he wants out or not, right now he seems to be saying all the right things because it's the beginning of the season. He's not trying to cause any smoke. But he knows if that happens again, he's out. And rightfully so. He's putting everything he's got 110% out there. He's playing his ass off. And Josh Allen has come up short a lot for them when it matters. Now, he did come up short in a really tightly contested classic game with Mahomes a couple years back. But nonetheless, like at some point, if you want to be great, like those guys, Hurts, Burrow, obviously Mahomes, like these guys have passed Allen, and more guys this year are potentially going to pass him, like the Trevor Lawrences of the world, okay? And Justin Herberts of the world, possibly. You got to win in this league. I don't care about the regular season. Like you can win your 10, 11 games. You can get your over. You can get to the playoffs. Legacies are made in the playoffs. And that's all I care about. And that's what a lot of people care about. So
yeah, but we're talking regular season right now.
We don't trust them anymore.
Yeah, but guess Josh Allen's only 27 years old. I just don't understand how people are all of a sudden like all over this guy for he's not a winner and he's a turnover machine. The last 3 years, 37, 36, 35 touchdowns through the air, rushing 8, 6, 7 the last 3 years. He's still a regular season monster. And as Seltzer keeps saying,
so was Embiid.
About the regular season right now. We're not talking about the playoffs.
So was Embiid.
But Josh Allen has had a moment. Joel Embiid's not had a moment. I don't want to get into the Allen versus Embiid.
What do you mean he hasn't had a
Josh
moment?
Allen leading his team down the field to essentially win the game against Kansas City was a moment where he put the team on his back, and then the defense let him down. You can't say it wasn't.
Joel Embiid didn't have a big moment in a non-finals game, just like Josh Allen did.
He didn't have a first-round game.
He didn't clinch a series.
We're not doing this.
A first-round series.
It doesn't matter. What second round? So what? So we're talking about non-final series, like with a piston contest or non-final series.
No,
he's gotten to an AFC championship.
They both got to win in the bigger games, and they haven't done it.
I don't condone this.
Listen, we're
That's why no one talks about the Sixers anymore but us, because they haven't done it. So why are we wasting our time with the Bills? They haven't won anything.
Let's wrap up the AFC East here. We're gonna close it out. Let's go. Let's recap our picks.
We are live.
This is what I like. This is what Seltzer's the best at. Is just let's move the hell on. We got to keep it moving.
We're gonna go over a picture real quick. I got the Patriots under at 6-11. I got the Jets under at 7-10. I got the Dolphins over 12-5, and I got the Bills over at 13-4. That's my best bet. Guest?
Patriots 8-9 over, Dolphins 9-8 under, Bills 10-7 under, Jets 11-6 over with the best bet. Best bet.
Was that the new live version of the we gotta get a soundboard.
Yeah, we do need a soundboard.
I got Pat 6-11. That's the under. I got Jets 11-6. That's the over. That's my best bet. Dolphins 9-8. That's the under, and Bills 11-6. That's the over.
All right. So we had a comment in the chat section that we were about to go off the rails. We were at the point of no return. But little do they know, in segment 3, we are going to try and compose a fantasy football
Here we go.
quarterback rankings list. And if you've joined our podcast in the past, these rankings have been terrible. Not terrible. Adventurous, to say the least. And we will explain what we're going to do as we jump into segment 3. But first, Al, do you want to talk about the Sterling Pig?
Yeah, I'm happy to, because this is actually an establishment that I've been to. So Sterling Pig Brewery, it is in Media. It's at 609 West State Street. They brew all their own beers. They got a great selection there. If you want an Orange Street wheat, you like a wheat beer, they got it. You like an IPA, they got it. Check out, guess you're gonna love this. Check out their Big Guns Double IPA, and that's Guns with a Z.
You said double I, you said?
Oh, whoa, double IPA, my friend. You want it, they got it. They got some great food. They got some great wings. Check out the ranch fried pickles. But if you're in Media, you're looking for a nice little spot to catch a game, have a beer, and have a little bit of finger foods there, check out Sterling Pig.
Yeah, and tell them you're a friend of the Olde City Sports Network and you listen to 3 in the Keystone. They'll love that over there.
It ain't gonna hurt.
All right, so let's get into the rules and regulations for those of you guys who haven't been a part of this. First and foremost, we are not giving you the rankings in which we say the draft order should be. We are not ranking our fantasy quarterbacks 1 through 10. We are guessing where they're going to finish at the end of the year. So there are certain quarterbacks that will be drafted before some of our picks, per se. And we understand that, but we are trying to guess the end of the year where they're going to finish, not where they are being drafted in drafts. Secondly, we have each have our own individual list, but we're going to work together to combine a list by going one at a time. You will see it probably easier to explain as we go. We have pre-picked the order. I'm going to go first. Al is going to go second, and Chris is going to go third. And let's get the party started. All right, my number 10 guy. I have a guy here who is ranked lower when you look at consensus rankings. I think he's ranked around 14 or 15 on most cheat sheets. But last year, he was the ranked quarterback number 10. He had a really good year on an offense that everybody thinks is going to take a step forward this year. I mentioned in our team preview, I like the fact that they play a lot of games inside this year, as his numbers are way better inside than outside. I have Jared Goff at number 10.
Oh,
My God, the list is already gone.
oh,
A lot of weapons.
Versa, chime in, please. I can't
oh.
say.
Listen, Jamal Williams ran 18 plus touchdowns last year for that team. Even if that number drops to 12 or 13, those are going to be touchdown passes at this point in time. The David Montgomery's not going to have that same efficiency. And listen, if I have Amon-Ra St. Brown ranked in my top 5, somebody's got to throw him the ball, boys.
Yep.
Somebody's got to throw him the ball. So to me, it's Jared Goff, and I have him at number 10.
So already we're losing someone that should be in this top 10. It's just a matter of who.
There's a bunch of guys at the back end that are interchangeable, I think.
Well, you know what, Seltzer, I do respect the pick too, because we had Goff as in the third tier of quarterbacks.
By
We got to hold our own brand here.
Yeah, the first time we tried this little exercise. So as you can see, we haven't gotten any better at it. All right, I'm next, right? I got 9.
Yeah.
All right, this is the guy that I actually have at 9. So I'm just going to skip my number 10 guy and go right to this guy. And it's Captain Kirk. It's Kirk Cousins. You talk about a guy that finished the season 7th last year in the rankings, so it's a little bit of a dip. But if I don't take him now, I don't know if he's going to get taken. He's throwing to unquestionably the best wide receiver in the game right now, in Justin Jefferson. And they go ahead and they draft a kid that's been electric all preseason long, Jordan Addison out of USC. Everything there is saying that he's got what it takes to play at the next level. You lose Dalvin Cook. So it could be the same kind of situation that Adam just mentioned in Detroit, where now maybe Kirk is throwing a few more passes in the end zone for touchdowns. So look, I think he's going to drop from 7 to 9. I think that's his range, right in that like 6 to 9 area of fantasy quarterbacks. So give me Kirk Cousins here at 9.
All right. I didn't have him on my list, but I think he's in that same. He's in that interchangeable section of quarterbacks that I talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
You ready to get nasty?
As nasty as you want to be.
My number 8 is going to be my number 8. And it's not because of who he is, because I think he's a lot better than this ranking, but because of the circumstance. I'm going with Joe Burrow at number 8. Woo! I don't trust the calf. I have questions with this injury. And I have questions on how many games he's going to actually play start to finish in the beginning of the year because of that injury. So that's the sole reason why I have him at 8. Now, even if he misses 2 games a month, whatever the case may be, he still could finish at 8, which is still really good in the sense that he missed, like I said, a handful of games. But I just don't trust that leg right now. I don't like the responses that the team's been giving in response to the injury. It doesn't seem like they're very confident at all that he'll be back anytime soon. And because of that, I'm leery of it. I'm leery of his production. Not him as a player, but his production this year.
Yes, I'm with you. I had him at 6. I wasn't that pessimistic on it, but I have some concerns about the calf too. But so I had him at 6. I don't hate him that low.
I have Burrow on my team.
I can tell by your reaction, Seltzer, that you were with him on that. He had the second highest completion percentage in the league last year, second highest touchdowns thrown last year.
He's great. He's one of my favorite players in football. I'm worried about his leg, and I'm worried about his availability, and because of that, I'm worried about his overall production at the end of the year. When we look back,
you time and time again say how much you love Joe Burrow.
I do.
He's worried about the leg. I get it. I'm with him on this. He's worried about the leg.
That calf can linger. I don't like it. I'm nervous about it.
Oh man.
All right. So it's back to me.
No going back.
For number 7. And now there's a guy here that like 7, 6. I'm trying to do the math here.
Yeah, move everybody up one now, Seltzer. Just bump them up.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip him. He might not get in the top. I got Lamar at number 7.
Killing me.
Listen, QB 14 last year. Here's my issue with Lamar is he's an injury risk, and it's been proven. You know, we talked about Burrow's leg. He hasn't finished a year in the last 2 seasons. He's with a coordinator who is supposed to open up the offense for him, so that should be good for his fantasy value. But I'm still not a huge believer in Lamar the passer. I never have been. He'll get you points that are on the ground. But to me, the other thing with him is, and again, this is not for your season total, but if you're drafting him, he's so inconsistent. He has games where he throws for 150 yards and no touchdowns. And then he'll have those games where he gets you 45 or 50 points. But to me, I'd rather have a quarterback that's going to get me a consistent 25, a consistent 20, 22, 23 points for me. Lamar is an injury risk. I'm not a huge believer in him as a thrower. This could end up blowing up in my face, but I'm not a huge Lamar guy, and I think part of it comes from the fact that I've only had him once, and it was the year after his MVP, and he wasn't very good in that year, and I kind of have that stigma still sitting with me. So I'm just not as bullish on Lamar as a quarterback as most, and that has the potential of blowing up in my face because he has QB1 potential if everything goes right.
Yeah, I have him at 5 on my list. I think he's going to have a really good year this year.
I have him at 5 also.
You have – yeah. Yeah, I like him a lot actually this year.
No, I'm pissed. And here's why. Because one of you two knuckleheads is going to take Justin Fields.
I skipped him.
Oh, he's on next circle.
That's ridiculous. That's insane. So like I'm tempted right now to just turn this thing upside down because that's ridiculous that you're going to have Justin Fields over Joe Burrow and over whoever I take and over Lamar Jackson. That's insane.
I agree with that. I don't have Justin Fields over those guys. I was at the point now where I thought Justin Fields was going to miss the list.
Yeah. The only way he's going to miss, guess is going to take him.
He ain't missing this list, brother.
It's the beauty of this exercise.
He ain't missing this list.
No, that's the beast of this exercise.
Yeah, you should have taken him first out just to get him out of the way.
Yeah, start taking guys at the bottom on purpose.
Yeah, I'll take Elvis Gerbach here at number 6.
Gerbach was a Gerb bust.
Oh, man. All right. Well, Guess is going to take him anyway, so I guess I will take Justin Herbert. I'll take Justin Herbert here. Justin Herbert last year was 11th in fantasy points. He's a guy who, gets a lot of help as far as – correct me if I'm wrong, guys. You guys know I'm not a fantasy guy. Austin Eckler catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. Am I correct? I know that his receivers struggle to stay on the field. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. But this is a kid that, despite what happened in Jacksonville last year, he still has all the tools to be one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL. He's got a cannon for an arm. He threw for over 4,700 yards last year, 25 touchdowns. I can see him easily hitting the 30-plus touchdown mark this year. So I'll take Herbert here, and it's an absolute travesty what we're about to get here in the number 5 spot.
Yeah, I had Herbert at 4. I'm going back to the well. He let me down last year. I'm trusting in the new coaching staff that they're going to let him throw the ball down the field because he's probably got top behind Mahomes, probably the best arm in the NFL.
Yeah, he's got a gun.
Well, you guys ready for it, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, just clarify for the listeners, though, guests. Do you play in a league where like interceptions don't count as negative points?
No, of course they count.
Fumbles don't count as negative points.
They all count.
One of those cockamamie leagues.
No, they count negative. I think Justin Fields, Herbert too, but I think Justin Fields is going to blow up this year. It's his 3rd year, and I think that he has made strides in completion percentage since his rookie year last year, yards overall thrown, touchdown passes thrown. His QB rating's been higher, and his rushing yards have been higher, and they're going to go even higher this year. I think Fields is going to have 1,000 yards on the ground, and I think he is going to throw for about 3,200, and he's going to be a powerhouse with DJ Moore as his number 1 weapon, and they're both going to be studs in fantasy this year. And because of that, he's where I'm going right now in this pick.
Number 5. Would you
5.
admit that he has the lowest floor of all these quarterbacks?
Yes. But I think he also arguably you could say he has the highest ceiling too. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's got him and Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to take a Jalen Hurts type leap this year for the Bears. I really do.
To me, the Justin Fields hype has gotten a little out of control.
It's way too much.
It's a little bit. I like him.
The kid does not go through progressions. He cannot throw the ball. He's an inaccurate passer. He looks to run.
His passes were higher last year.
It's fine with fantasy.
You don't think that defenses are on to him? I'll make this bet with either of you right now. I'll put Righteous Felon. I'll put a dinner at Sterling Pig. That's our sponsor for the 3rd segment.
Man, I'm going to clean up on this
Here's
stuff.
The bet.
I'm cleaning up.
He's going to have more turnovers combined, fumbles and interceptions, than passing touchdowns this year.
All right, so you're going to be treating me to dinner at Sterling Pig. I'm going to use the $20 I'm going to get from Seltzer for the tip. All right. And we're going to be riding out.
We finally put together a nice Google Doc. We're going to have to log some of this action.
You trust me. I got the log. Don't worry about it. We're logging action.
All right. So he had Justin Fields at 5, right?
For the record, on my list, I had Lamar at 5, Fields at 6. But because of the sake of where the list went, I reversed them.
I had Fields at 9.
I had him at 8.
Okay.
So I
was trying to top 10. You thought it was going to be 20th in the league.
I'm trying to be objective. Well, that just says more about that lower tier of quarterback, in my opinion, because he's down there fighting with the Daniel Joneses of the world.
All right. So we're into the top 4. And I think number 4 at this point is pretty obvious. I don't think we could screw it up too much. I hope we're all on the same page here. I had him at number 5, but obviously he'll slide into the 4 spot for our list. It's Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
QB 8 last year. I'm bullish on Jacksonville. We talked about it in the AFC South preview. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk. I love the running backs, ETN. I love Bigsby. Evan Ingram broke out last year. Doug Peterson, QB whisperer, playing in a crap division, plenty of opportunities to throw the ball, run the score up, soft schedule. Number 1 pick pedigree. There's just not a ton of bust potential. So, again, I had him at 5, but for our list, he will be number 4. It's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, go ahead, Al.
I don't know much about Lawrence as far as a fantasy quarterback, but I think the kid is on the cusp. We've said it of joining that great to elite quarterback tier. So
Guess didn't look like he agreed.
I'm on board.
My list, I have Trevor Lawrence 3rd.
Oh, so yeah, you agree.
Yeah, I have him 3rd. I have Josh Allen 4th.
Yeah, well,
I think Lawrence is in the midst of leapfrogging Herbert as far as a quarterback in the NFL.
I had a tough debate between those two, but I've always been a Herbert guy, so I'm giving him one more year to get it together.
Well, Herbert's coach didn't do him any favors, that's for sure.
You're a Chargers guy.
San Diego.
He's a Fugazi star. Yes, he's still doing the San Diego song. He's in the past.
Well, is it my pick? Because I'm tempted to screw guests right now and just take someone that I know he probably has at 1. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take this is the guy that I had at 3, and I'll take him at 3. And it's Josh Allen. And I said it in the last segment when we talked about the AFC East. We talked about our predictions. Josh Allen he's still a touchdown machine. 30+ touchdowns passing each of the last 3 years. At least 7 on the ground each of the last 3 years. I mean, Stephon Diggs still plays for the Buffalo Bills. The last time I checked, despite any rumors that might be coming out about him wanting a trade, I think Josh Allen is he's very similar to what we saw at a Big Ben in Pittsburgh, but probably better as far as a fantasy quarterback goes. So at 3, I think Josh Allen's floor is like top 5.
I have Josh Allen at number 1.
I'm fine with that. I think the top 3 guys are all just flip a coin.
I mean, the last 3 years, Josh Allen fantasy.
You have him over Mahomes, and you're gonna be fine with that.
The last 3 years, Josh Allen's quarterback QB2, QB1, QB1. He's been the number 1 fantasy quarterback 2 of the last 3 years. Don't act like it's out of the realm of possibilities that he could finish number 1 again.
Yes,
the guy racks up stats.
Yeah, detach yourself from the playoff stuff, guest.
No, I'm not. I am, but I'm saying no. I don't think he's number 1. I think that I would still have Mahomes. Mahomes is king. He is Mufasa. Okay, he is the Mufasa of quarterbacks.
So who do you have at 2? This is your pick.
Yeah, it's your pick.
Haley. I have my son, Jalen Hurts, is number 2.
All right.
Was there a doubt in that?
No, because I thought it could have went either way. I thought you might have Hurts at 1.
No. I ain't ready for all that. Mahomes is still number 1. As much as I hate to admit it, he's still number 1.
So at number 1, I'm going to take Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Dak not on the list here for the Cowboy Rat fans that are listening.
Yeah. So did you guys have anybody on your list that didn't make it?
Yeah, one guy.
Who's that?
I had Geno at 10.
Me too.
Did you? Okay, so I had the only one I had that didn't make the list was, again, given my bullishness on the Dolphins, I had Tua at 8.
Well, I had Dak on my list. I'm at 9.
Okay. Well, we're going to read our list, right? Is there anything we want to talk about with Mahomes and Hurts? Because we just totally skipped them over.
The only thing from a fantasy perspective for me for Hurts is I don't think he's going to get to 13 rushing touchdowns again. I think there was a lot of QB sneaks that, they happen to get the ball at the 1-yard line when they might not be doing that again this year. But I have no issue taking him. I have him at number 2 on my list. I actually have Mahomes at 3.
His rushing touchdowns, like you just said, are totally situational regarding whether or not they're on the 1-yard line. And if you're a betting man, you can bet that there's an over-under where you can bet the longest touchdown for a game would be over-under 1.5 yards. And it's always like right around that -110 mark. So it happens more than you think where a team gets the ball on the 1-yard line. And anytime the Eagles do, it is guaranteed he's scoring that touchdown. I'm willing to bet that's going to be in 50% of the games. That's 8 touchdowns. Boom.
Yeah,
8 rushing touchdowns.
I mean, even if he doesn't get those touchdowns, which again, there's no reason why they wouldn't do that. It killed the league last year. There's no reason why they would stop that. But even if they tried to do that, they're going to do it as an RPO or a play action. He's going to pass it for a touchdown. So he's going to get the points regardless from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah. I mean, look, the top 3 guys, you can take them in whatever order you want. And in my opinion, they're all in the same tier. You can mash them up any way. It's Josh Allen, it's Jalen Hurts, it's Patrick Mahomes. They're all things said, at the end of the year, they're probably going to be right around each other scoring-wise if everything works out as you would expect it to.
I agree.
I agree for the Jets thing last year, Seltzer. And how different I was from that pick last year from this year. You are extremely different from your Jalen Hurts pick last year from this year.
I was wrong. I can admit that. But wait, I have a question for you guys who are bullish on the Jets. I didn't hear any Aaron Rodgers talk.
I said I didn't think he's going to be good. He's going to be great. The defense is going to be great for that team.
He's going to be a game manager plus.
I agree 100%.
I don't know if Aaron Rodgers has that in him.
But one thing about Patrick Mahomes, do we agree that he's the only guy in the NFL that potentially has that 40 2+ touchdown passing touchdowns in his repertoire. Like there's no
No,
one else.
no,
that
I don't
touches.
agree with that.
Who else is going to touch it? Allen?
I
Justin
think
Fields.
Herbert can get there if the world. I think Lawrence can get there if everything works out.
40-something plus
Yeah.
this season?
I do.
Not ever. Not for the history of time.
I know what you're saying.
Justin Fields, bro.
Oh my God. Shut it down.
Drop that beat.
Shut it down.
Um,
I'm for the record, I'm not saying Justin Fields is going to throw 40.
He's not going to have 40 touchdowns in 3 seasons, guys.
Oh my God! How much you would have bet for that one? How many Sterling Pigs did are we doing for that?
I'll bet the whole hog.
We're doing a lot of business, Jack.
Let's run through our individual list quickly. I think we kind of touched on them earlier. I'll go quick. Jared Goff at 10. Actually, Al, why don't you do our group list first?
All right, the group list from 10 to 1. 10 is Jared Goff. Then we have Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. Number 5 is Justin Fields. 4 is Trevor Lawrence. 3, Josh Allen. 2, Jalen Hurts. And number 1, Patrick Mahomes.
All right. So my individual one, I got Goff at 10, Justin Fields at 9, Tua at 8, Lamar at 7, Burrow at 6, Lawrence at 5, Herbert at 4, Mahomes at 3, Hurts at 2, and Josh Allen at 1. Chris?
Geno Smith 10, Dak Prescott 9, Joe Burrow 8, 7 is Justin Herbert, 6 Justin Fields, 5 Lamar Jackson, 4 Josh Allen, 3 Trevor Lawrence, 2 Jalen Hurts, 1 Pat Mahomes.
I have 10 Geno Smith, 9 Kirk Cousins, 8 Justin Fields, 7 Justin Herbert, 6 Trevor Lawrence, 5 Lamar Jackson, 4 Joe Burrow, 3 Josh Allen, 2 Jalen Hurts, and 1 Patrick Mahomes.
All right. So that'll wrap up our first live episode, boys. We got through it, I think, almost scot-free for the most part. I don't think there was too many.
You guys ain't scot-free. I don't know about me.
But listen, check out our profile. The Fanatics link is in there. Go get yourself some Phillies gear before the postseason run. Go get yourself some Righteous Jerky. And then go to Sterling Pig for dinner. Check out all 3.
With me is we spend Al's money.
Well, please. Scot-free. You probably had scot-free at number 1 in the rankings.
Scot-free. Somewhere there's a scot-free that's like, oh, wait a minute. They
Scot-free.
know who I am.
But we appreciate you, everybody,
Diversa, thanks for
supporting the podcast and getting us to this point. Looking forward to doing this more with you in the future. But until then, let's drop that beat.